Two and
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
hey,
How's everyone doing today? I am Lawrence Watkins. I am the president and chief operating officer of Boyce Watkins Enterprises in the Black Business School. Here today with a very special guest. It's kind of like a legend in the blockchain space, man. Someone who has, especially for Black people, has personified what it means to be successful in this particular area, and someone who knows so much in regards to that particular space. So we're here with brother Shawn Wilkinson, and Shawn is the founder and CSO. So I assume that stands for Chief Strategy Officer. Is that right, Shawn?
That's correct.
Yes, Chief Strategy Officer of Storj, and we're going to get all into Storj and what it is that they're doing in regards to using excess hard drive space and selling that space and using that space as excess capacity on the blockchain. We're also here with brother Mike Flatt, our resident tech guru, tech chief. Yeah, we're looking forward to getting into this conversation. So, Shawn, man, before we even get to anything, have you seen Black Panther yet?
Absolutely. I saw it opening weekend with my girlfriend. It was absolutely great. So I really like the story. I really like the little tech pieces that they had in there. They didn't have any blockchain there. At least not in what I could tell from the movie, but maybe that'll be in the sequel.
Well, no, that stuff is still super secret for them, though. They're not going to share the blockchain secrets, right?
Yeah.
So
maybe they figured out blockchain scaling, in Wakanda, and that's not something that you don't want to leak out.
Yes.
Like
Somehow that's what's running. The blockchain is running their maglev trains.
quantum computers.
Yeah, they have those quantum computers and everything. So you're like the black male. What's your name? Shumi or Shuri? Shuri, the sister.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Yeah, T'Challa's sister, and that's basically what Shawn is. He's like the Wakandan scientist, blockchain person who is really changing the game. So, yeah, man. So just tell us, for those who don't know who you are, right? Because I've talked to Lamar Wilson about you. I've talked to other people about you. They love you to death. I think I talked to my friend. Well, let's keep it at Lamar. I don't want to give all my business and put their business out there. But shout out to my friends who always talk very highly about Shawn and other people in the space. Tell us like your background and how you actually got into storage and just the space in general.
Sure. So I'll kind of go way back, kind of 2012. I was finishing up my computer science degree at Morehouse College, and one of my friends was doing some mining. So I thought, I have a computer to sit in my residence hall, free electricity. Let me give that a try too. So I was mining some Bitcoins back in the day. Actually, regrettably, I turned off my Bitcoin miner. It was making a half a Bitcoin a day, but then that reduced down to 0.45 Bitcoins a day, and it was making my room hot, and like only 0.45 Bitcoins a day. This is not really working. So I turned that. I ran it for a good bit, but I turned it off, and then kind of months later, kind of Bitcoin took off in its one of its first bubbles, and that little bit of Bitcoin that was only a couple cents then was worth a reasonable amount of money. So I was like, what is this? And I looked into it. I read the original white paper and just fell in love with the technology and what it could do. I said, man, this is gonna be really impactful. So from there, I got involved in the space, did some very basic commits to Bitcoin Core, improving documentation, got involved in various early projects that most people, newer people wouldn't even have heard of: PureCoin, PrimeCoin, BitShares, very early projects, and just really fell in love with the space and what it could do. And it really came to a point in kind of 2014 when I was working on my own, just doing some projects. for myself and freelancing for others. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the Twitter fire hose and store like all this data that was getting on there. At this point, this was like 2014, so there wasn't all like garbage like the Trump tweets and all this other stuff that you have on there now. So that, cleaner and nicer.
Before the elections.
So I was trying to grab and analyze this data, and I was looking at the services that I used like store a large amount of data, and it was Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and these providers to store large amounts of data were just really, really expensive. And they didn't have the features they want. They weren't open source, and this wasn't really what I wanted. And then I just kind of thought, wait a minute. There's this blockchain thing where people are at that time, renting out their extra compute space or extra CPU cycles to maintain this network. And even at that time in, even in 2012, the Bitcoin mining network was larger than the top 500 supercomputers combined by an order of magnitude.
Wow.
So there was a massive amount of just like resources being used on this network, and people being incentivized and paid for utilizing their excess resources. So I thought, wait a minute, what if you could do that with storage, where people could rent out their extra hard drive space, like kind of a Airbnb or Uber for your extra hard drive space on your computer, and then they could get incentivized, in this kind of trustless, blockchain-based system like Bitcoin, where they're just kind of earning tokens or coins behind the scenes. So I kind of started down that path and fell down that rabbit hole and never came back out. And so it's just been kind of a steady progression from 2014, where it was just really an idea. I thought this would be useful to myself, to now kind of one of the largest crypto companies in the space that's live and in production, and something actually is.
No need to be coy, Shawn. You're kind of a big deal, right? I can say that. You can say that about
bigger deal than me.
Yeah. You didn't say that. I'm the one who actually said that, right? And I want to get into that innovation story a little bit more, because a lot of people in our audience, they want to create their own blockchain company one day, right? And Mike, there we go. Mike right there.
Yeah, I actually wanted to touch in on that as well, because from an innovation standpoint, I've always been a big proponent of like, find a need and fill the void. And I always have tons of data. Like right now I'm working on a thesis with machine learning, and I go through like transferring like 30 to 60 gigs a day just of data. And I have like 4 different laptops, so it's like it's like am I going to be stuck to one, or I have a server, so it's I think this use case is amazing, honestly. And I've seen the value of it for a while. I travel a lot, so I like to have all my data available to me at all times, so I definitely see the value in it.
Yeah, there's so many things that we could touch on. There's the technical aspects where you just want somewhere to store data, and you want something that's fast and not too expensive. But then there's like whole other parts where you talk about more of the ideological parts of it, where you want privacy and security in your data. And that's something that other platforms, may not really give you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a second, right? Because I want to get into some of the specifics in terms of which problem you're actually solving with storage. But before we get there, I want to talk about this concept of innovation a little bit more in terms of innovation in the blockchain space. So it's not like you just came up with this idea one day, right? Like you had already been in this space a couple years. Can you talk about just that process of coming up with an idea, and then later on in the discussion, we'll talk about how you went about executing upon that idea?
Yeah, so the idea came mostly from, trying to solve a need that I experienced. I wanted to store large amounts of data, and I just wanted a way to do that, and the traditional methods didn't work. So I was like, let me just build it. But to kind of the story and the point is that the official start of Storj was at the beginning of 2014 when I went to the Texas Bitcoin Hackathon and presented it there and worked on it there and had a small prototype there and won first place there. And that got a little bit of recognition and name brand there, and then the project kind of grew from there. That was kind of the first public launch. So I really love these events like hackathons and other things that there's some good ones that have been out recently. The ETH Denver is one we just came back from. We sponsored there and ETH Waterloo. Really great hackathons where it's there's a lot of conferences and a lot of areas where there's a lot of talk, right? We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. This is the future. But what I really love is the events and the places where they're like, okay, everyone's here, you're gonna make something. And actually build something and actually do something. And so people are looking to be innovative and get in the space and do something. You want to surround yourself with people who are doers, and you want to surround your go to events and hackathons and things where things are done rather than just talked about. So if I could impart like any advice anyone going down that train and that innovation train, is there's a lot of people who talk about stuff, but you really want to focus on the people who are actually doing stuff.
How did you go about doing them, right? Because you have this wonderful idea. And how did you feel when you came up with the idea? Was it like a bolt of lightning, like, oh, we can do this, and you were ecstatic about it? Or was it something that you were a little nervous about at the beginning, or what?
Well, at the beginning, it was solving a base need for myself, right? This was something where I was having issues storing, as a developer, storing, data in large amounts at scale, and there was really no tools to do that. This seemed like a really good application of the technology, and I went for it. And I found out very quickly that other people were experiencing the same issue, right? And they wanted they wanted, more control over their data, more privacy, more security, better cost, better performance. And so I found, a lot of people gravitated towards that. The other thing, I think we just got, lucky in terms of being very early, on in the space. And becoming kind of one of those foundational topics. It's sometimes blockchain and Bitcoin can be a little bit difficult to understand. Whereas you're mining out your computer thing, like how does that work? But people conceptually understand the idea of, oh, I have some extra hard drive on my computer. I can sell it for like this cryptocurrency thing. That makes like perfect sense.
Right.
So just being able to like throw that idea out there early, it's a conceptual thing that people could grab and understand. And you have all these people trying to build these, blockchain businesses and apps and projects. And what do they all need? They need to store the data somewhere. And so they need a platform like Storj to be able to do that. So it was a combination of just right time, right place, a foundational idea that's useful for lots of other things, and conceptually it's very easy to understand for everyone, versus other cases which might be a little bit more niche.
Yeah, and I think you kind of revolutionized the concept of mining, because it's like you said, it was originally like process hashing, and now it's like somebody coming around and you like, so original miners, like I got in going back to what you said about dorm room mining, we could have a whole nother topic about that, but my original miner was super bare bones. And then I'm hearing about, like, later on when I got back into it, I'm hearing about this and I'm like, I could like mine with different aspects of my computer, i.e., hard drive and your miner is making you money in different aspects at the same time. So it's like, but yeah, it pretty much revolutionized the idea to me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all about, there's a heavy focus on, computational mining, but there's many other things that, are being in the process of built and invented that, can utilize other things. And I think, one of the easiest associations to make is kind of storage, but I think there'll be others as time goes on.
Oh, now, that's not a statement that I can just let walk by, right? It's like, there's this other stuff that's kind of being developed, but I don't know if I can talk about it or not. Shawn, is that something you can talk about? Like, what's on the forefront of the blockchain space?
Well, I can talk about it from Storj's perspective. So one of the things that there's I guess two components I can talk about. So one is, from 2009 to, now, what's been dominant is computational like mining. So you're computational power to mine blocks, to mine Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. I think a lot of people have realized that kind of our thoughts on utilizing something like storage to provide that kind of monetization strategy for someone who's renting out their device. Storage makes a lot more sense. So you have a lot of companies popping up around, storage and bandwidth and CDN and archival, all these kind of things in the blockchain space, because that's easy to associate something that's actually useful to people, right? Storing data, transferring data, fast, securely. So I think there's going to be a lot more uses of other, parts in the computer, storage, people's bandwidth, than essentially just computation that people have been mainly doing for now. I think the secondary thing, there's a lot of things coming down the pipe in terms of these scaling solutions, right? You have something like Ethereum, right? Who can process, like 7 to 10 transactions per second. Mm-hmm. And the networks that we use today, like Visa, MasterCard, and whatnot, operate orders of magnitude more transactions. So you're going to see a lot of changes in terms of the way these networks behave and operate to be able to, get to that scale. So that's one of the things that we're working on at Storj is, we, started very early. And so we're encountering a lot of these things and technical hurdles that we have to pass before a lot of people get to them. So for example, right now we are working on re-architecting our system to be able to scale from essentially the 30 petabytes of data that we're storing right now. That's 30,000 terabytes of data to the exabyte range. And none of the technology that is available right now is really great for being able to support that level of scaling. And so there's going to be a lot of changes down the road that will be interesting to really see as people encounter those same problems where you have this awesome, cool distributed system, but you really have to do some real new things that people have done before if you want to actually get it to mainstream usage and actually be able to have it function so that average, everyday people can actually use it.
Right.
But I see coming down the pipe.
Yeah, so now that's interesting to me. And, I think we missed a key element of this conversation, right? And that is, can you describe to us, what is the main problem that Storj is solving? Because you mentioned security as a piece of that, but can you elaborate on that a little bit more for me?
Yeah, so this is, let me kind of answer that in long form, is that there's a fundamental problem with the way we store data right now. You take your data and you give it to, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and say, here's my data. Please don't let anything bad happen to it, or don't let it, don't let it get hacked or anything like that. And every couple of months you say, oops, sorry, it hacked again. Oops, sorry, we lost some of the data, or all these issues. And the core issues, we're taking all our data, and we're storing on these cloud services. But these cloud services are really just someone else's computer. It just happens to be Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. And our data is centralized in these places. But the way that you and I actually access information are much different. You have your 4 laptops. You go, travel all over the world. You access it in a distributed and decentralized manner, whereas the data is stored centrally and administered centrally.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see the problem there is that the way that we store and access data doesn't actually look like how we, use and access it. And so that fundamental change between us taking that data, putting it on a distributed network, as if by magic, starts to solve not one problem, but many, right? So it solves the security portion in the manner that, okay, we're storing this data on a bunch of untrusted PCs, so we have to encrypt the data using your keys that only you know and have access to before we send it out. So if we get hacked, doesn't matter. We don't have the keys, we don't have access to the data, only you did. Amazon gets hacked, oh, there goes all your data. You go to another point, just a general problem with cloud storage, performance. You might want to, download this, 4K video or whatnot, but there's some bottleneck between you and the data center that's 3 states away. In our network, since it's, distributed in multiple PCs all over the network, you can stream bits and pieces of that data simultaneously to your computer and get it a lot faster. So I can keep on going. Like the last one, there's many more, but like cost. Amazon has to go spend $600 million to go build out a data center. We just got to go, hey, so you want to rent out your extra hard drive space so you're already, you have the computer laying around there. So, you already got internet paid for. You already got, it doesn't need any heating or cooling solution. So it brings down the cost as well. So it's all these problems. It's not just one. It's these fundamental issues with cloud storage that by making cloud storage look like how we actually use it, as if by magic these problems start to go away.
Yeah, and I also want to point out another thing that shouldn't be neglected is, the size, and the actual sustainability of cloud storage, because, I remember reading and watching a couple of things about, the fact, like you're talking about petabytes here right now, and there was when they were talking about the scalability of the data we consume in society in general, and they were talking about like the scale of the data centers that would be needed to do it traditionally. And then they were talking about even considering using like DNA as storage, but to me, it seems like you're solving a sustainability problem as well, because, you don't have to pay for the electricity. You don't have to, like you say, you don't have to pay for the heat, the cooling of the storage centers. Or even the water cost, like Google uses a ton of fresh water just to cool, their servers. So, that's like actually one of the requirements they need, an aquifer or something like that, before they even go to build a data center. So, that's another big problem. I don't know if you've thought about it like that, but that's a huge problem that actually you might have accidentally solved as well.
Yeah, I don't think we push that too much in our messaging, but you could definitely say, save the planet and earn money too, right?
Yeah. So, and I would push back on that too, right? Because I guess if you're using the excess capacity of individuals' computers, that means they're already using that power to power up their machines in other ways. And so I guess there's no additional. Is there any additional marginal cost to like using that additional energy? I guess I'm getting theoretical. I have a tendency to do that sometimes.
Yeah, so the marginal cost would be, the electricity of running the computer when you wouldn't be running it normally. Like if you kept it on at 3 a.m.,
Right.
it's essentially run it. But it's negligible cost, the impact of running a giant data center.
Yeah, compared to that, yeah.
And I've seen people take like little, $35 Raspberry Pis and run storage on, with a solar panel.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a million things you can do with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get into the execution, right? Because Shawn, you seem such a doer. We've been talking about the strategy, and you have an excellent strategic mind. From just this short conversation, I can tell that you're brilliant in that regard. Let's talk about how you went from actually thinking about what to do to actually doing it. So when you came up with the idea, I'm going to build, storage or something, I don't know if you had a name for it or not yet. I'm going to build this company that distributes people's data to access hard drive, space around the world. What's the first thing that you did after that, like to get this off the ground?
All right. So the first thing I did was built out kind of a prototype, some documentation and a white paper early on. We did that hackathon that kind of got the name out there. One of the most important things that if you're thinking of building out a network or a project is really building out a community. Getting a group of people who are passionate about the idea, and if you get it out there, they'll come to you. So getting people who are passionate and willing to help, and who are helpers and doers to help you kind of move it forward. I definitely didn't do it all by myself. I definitely had a seed idea. I definitely did a lot of work towards that goal, but it's really about getting people aligned around that idea, where they can say, hey, I can actually that part of it makes sense to me. Let me go spend some time and try to tackle that and come back with a solution. Or that thing over there, I can handle that. And so it's all really about building that community early on, because they're what helps refine the idea and move it forward, both in conceptual thinking, but also in terms of applications and implementations actually doing.
So our Black crypto investing community is 60,000 strong now, right? And I'm very proud of what's being built, by people in this space who want to actually become in this space. Can you talk about how did you go about building the community? Did you start at Morehouse? Did you go to? I mean, is it just the conferences? What were your steps to building that community to get that insight from other people?
Yeah, so it's really two places, virtual and physical. Is that I had previous experience building communities. Very early in my kind of high school days, I was teaching people how to do 3D modeling and 3D graphic design in games. So I built out a bit of a community there, so I knew how to kind of replicate that and explain more dense technical concepts. So that was maybe a little bit of a personal skill, but I think anyone with, working hard at it and communicating with other people, you have so many tools now, like Slack and all these other tools where you can just invite people in Telegram, all these other things where you can get, a group of people and really just, the people who pop out are the people who are interested and willing to drive it forward. And the second thing was, just going to the meetups and the conferences, and I went to a lot of conferences early on, but you really get to meet all the people in the space, and they're going to give you good feedback, and they're going to connect you to the people you need to connect to, and they're the ones that'll help you get your early funding and all that kind of stuff. So
you were just out there sharing this vision.
Out there, on the road doing it and working on it. So
what about from a programming angle? Did you have to do a lot in the beginning on that part? Like, did you build out the prototype and then like people could see that this thing in terms of what it could do or what?
Yeah, so I did a lot of kind of the top level architecture. I contributed a bit to the programming, but I found that my time was better spent, talking about the network, working on the high level architectural stuff, networking and moving, the then project, now company forward than it was programming. And that's one of the things that is important is finding those people that are smarter than yourself and can do things a lot better, than you can, and finding those programmers who can be like, oh, I got this, and, get 10 times further than you could in that project. And so it's just about communicating and collaborating with them to move forward. You can't do everything. Should have learned that lesson.
Surely cannot.
Yeah, I've tried.
I wish I could clone myself or freeze time.
But yeah, I definitely think, like, I agree with you. Networking is super important. And I'm kind of learning that a lot now as well. Like just the group of people that we've amassed in our groups, and especially the developer group. You find so many people who know so much cool stuff that you can, I'm always like, if I feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm probably in the wrong room kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I've been looking for the knowledge,
Yeah. And it's definitely an interesting space. There's definitely a lot of people, willing to, talk about crypto and talk about their opinions. And, you have to filter some of those, but you can learn a lot. And it's a very, it can be a very kind of open and new space where, other areas, are very closed off and difficult. You have, diverse founders raising millions of dollars, to build projects and companies, where if you look in the traditional space, that's non-existent. The space is so hungry that it doesn't even have time to discriminate.
So let's talk about that more then, right? Because, I want to start, having you two talk to each other, because I am kind of in the crypto space, because, that's one of the main areas of wealth building that me and my brother Boyce focused on. But we also focus on real estate. We focus on marketing and sales. We focus on the stock market. We focus on a lot of different things. But you, Shawn, and also Mike, you guys are just living this stuff every day, right? So just tell me in general, like, where do you guys think the space is heading?
Well, yeah, we'll let you take that one first.
Oh man, put me on the spot. I don't know. You can make a lot of, predictions and thoughts, and we can talk about this all day on like where this Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever space is heading. All I know is it's doing something. So it's just about, keeping up to what's going on and making progress and moves that make sense. I think a lot of people try to, predict where the space, would go, but like the truth is stranger than fiction. The fact that you have, you slap a picture of a dog on a coin and it's worth, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You can't write that stuff up. You can't make it up. The hacks and scams that happen, the positive advancements that just, like Lightning Network. It's just, you can't make it up. You can't predict it. You just gotta.
You have to adapt.
Go with the flow.
Right?
Yeah. You
can't predict. You can't plan. You just have to adapt.
Yeah.
On that front, and one of the things that we have created, not we, but then let's say Mike, in particular, this thing called the Love Token, which is ERC20 token, whatever. And we created it as a training mechanism to teach people, how to really build on the blockchain and really get into crypto. So Mike, did you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess to touch the first question, though, I personally kind of think that crypto is somewhat akin to the .com boom, as far as like the volatility and the disruptiveness of the technology. And so obviously I was a little too young to be a .com developer, but I hopped on the opportunity, and that's kind of why I'm here. But yeah, I think that, yeah, like you said, there's scams, there's some stupidity, and like
hilarious sometimes.
I'm a big Reddit meme guy, so it's provided me with a lot of laughs. Just with the kind of crazy stuff that people create, like useless Ethereum token or stuff like that. So yeah, and so I've heard, it's got goods and bads, and criminals tend to adopt new technology the quickest. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game. So yeah, it's gonna be a bad name. Like whenever I was telling people about Bitcoin when I was first into it, they were like, "Dude, do you sell drugs?" Like, and I'm like, "No."
You can do a word replace with Bitcoin with the internet, and then roll back the timeline to like the 90s, like the internet. That's only for drugs and guns, right? Bitcoin, it's only for drugs and guns, right?
Yeah, so that's how I feel about that. But as far as the love token, so yeah, we decided to provide a resource to teach people to kind of avoid this issue. Because when I first started playing around with wallets, it was one of the most stressful things like ever, because like if you send this to the wrong account or you send it to it's just gone forever. So if I send a Bitcoin to an ERC20 wallet, I'm gonna have a bad day, right? So, and it was super stressful. You double check to make sure your address is correct and all that stuff. So, and there's not really much support for that. So we wanted to spread awareness to the average consumer of crypto, so that they could feel more comfortable making these trades and purchasing. Because let's face it, like, yeah, holding crypto is awesome, but like the whole point of some of it is to be currency, like to actually be able to be used to buy pizzas or whatever. And so we wanted people to feel more comfortable about transmitting their tokens and stuff like that. So the whole purpose of the love token is to incentivize people to send love to other people, right? So basically we track the amount of sends per, and we do airdrops based on that. And so it's basically a fun way to just get people comfortable with sending and receiving tokens, and actually if they were to buy ERC20 ICO, how to go about adding the token to their MetaMask wallet or Muse, stuff like that. So it's basically, I did the contract and we're doing some work on the front end and stuff, but the concept is supposed to come with some training modules, so people can basically actively do tutorials on a token whose purpose is to be transmitted.
Yeah, the education piece in blockchain is really hard, right? Because there's just so many new concepts and things that really didn't exist before, and things that you have to explain to kind of the lay user or the new user, to really get them to understand. We wrestle back and forth with this every day. We have this awesome distributed, encrypted network that uses, a token for payments, and then you got to boil that down into something simple, right?
Yeah.
Where you can store your data, you can get it back. How can you make that experience, like 1 click, 2 clicks? How can you? People have questions. Okay, how does this work under the hood? Okay, how do you boil it down simply so they're getting, the useful information from that, and what points do you leave out because it doesn't make sense in that context, and they just need to know this. Yeah. So it's a difficult problem that a lot of people
it really is, right? Because we're an education first company, and we spend so much time walking people through a lot of these different issues, and we want to spend more time making sure that happens. But we have some questions from the audience. If you're open to those questions before we get in there, Shawn, would you like some love?
Sure. I got to give you ERC20 address, I guess.
Yeah.
You have to give it. You have to give it to Mike. But
Yeah, man.
we'll send you some love, and we set the price so high to show people that love cannot be bought. It can only be given. Right.
I like
So we're
that.
going
I
to
like
give you
that.
some love. And so you can give Mike your address in a few minutes, a little later. But we'll go ahead and send you some love, man.
I also now to see like a dystopian future where love is transactional. How much do you love me?
Yeah, right.
You don't love me that much.
I hope I don't start a Mad Max where people are just walking around getting love for different stuff.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching Altered Carbon. I can see this in like an Altered Carbon
I
universe.
saw you give some love to another girl. What is this?
I don't even want to start that.
Right.
We're all getting murdered over here.
Right. All right. So these are questions from our community. People just have different questions for you, Shawn. And by the way, I'm with Shawn Wilkinson. He is the founder and chief strategy officer of Storj. And one of the, I don't want to say a few, but yeah, one of the few African Americans, Black people in the space who are actually killing it. And the purpose of this group is to make sure that we do the same here in the coming months and years. But the first question that we have is, what is the adoption rate for storage? Can you compare storage to some of the cloud services in terms of like capacity, like an Amazon or a Dropbox or something like that?
Yeah, so if you want to look at kind of the adoption rate of storage, we just had a town hall a day or so ago, and you can look at a line and we kind of go through our stats. 60K plus users, 90K people who like are farmers at least, so nodes on the network renting out their hard drive space right now. You can go to the website right now and try it, storj.io. Click on rent your drive, download the application, put in an address, hit go. You're on the network. So yeah, it's been kind of steady growth. What we're focusing right now is kind of the re-architecture, because we realize with that heavy growth that we've been having, that we need to change a bunch of things on the back end to get to the next level. So a lot of articles and things coming out to that fact on how we're kind of pushing the technology forward to be able to handle the next level of users. The second question again was,
how does it compare to, in terms of like your capacity and even costs? How does it compare to like an Amazon Web Services or Dropbox or just services?
Right now, we're half off of something like Amazon S3. We're really focused on kind of the developers, kind of the AWS and Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud kind of things, because what we really found is when we started out, we were kind of thinking like decentralized Dropbox kind of deal. And what we realized, Dropbox just stores all their data, or at that point, just stored it on Amazon servers. They didn't store a single shred of data.
Right.
And then you look through a lot of applications that we use, they also just send all their data to Amazon. And so the layer where the data is actually stored is on that developer level. You and I download the next cat picture sharing application. We don't care where the data goes, whether it goes to Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook. It doesn't matter. It's just the application works. So the developers, the ones that actually make the choices on where our cloud storage data goes. So that's the platform that we're really building, and that's where we're more comparable, where we're more secure because we don't hold the keys, or Amazon does, or half the price, or can be more performant at times. So those are the ones that we're really comparing ourselves in, and these guys store exabytes and exabytes of data, and are predictably massively successful as well. And so if we can just have a sliver of the market that these large incumbent centralized cloud storage providers have, we'd be killing it, just killing it.
Yeah. It is so funny to me because whenever like Amazon Web Services goes down for a half hour to an hour, it's like the entire internet has shut down.
Yeah, they had that happen like a year ago.
Yeah, it did.
Amazon East region, someone mistyped a command and boop, oh, there goes the entire service. You get supporting the internet with it, and that's something that, in our network, could just be like, no big deal. Everything works, as expected. So it's built to be robust and fault tolerant versus, some engineer, one of these companies is trip over a network cable and there goes all the data, all the services.
So yeah, that's an interesting topic, and I kind of wanted to ask, like, I was thinking about it, like, do you have like redundancies coded in, like, meaning like, yeah, I know you encrypt bits of the data, but do you redundantly handle that data, right?
Yeah. So what happens in the process? You want to upload, a picture to the network. It's encrypted on your computer with only keys and have access to, not us, not anyone else. It's broken into small pieces, and then it's distributed in the network, and then it's made redundant. And then, we in the network work together to maintain, those pieces and those redundant pieces. So let's say there's 2 pieces of file. You send it out to the file, then you add redundancy. So there's 6 pieces, so 2 pieces, and then 2 copies of those pairs. One goes offline. We go, Lawrence turned off his computer. Let's take one of these extra pieces that we have and put it on, Mike's hard drive. So we recover that redundancy and keep it, nice and redundant throughout the network.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was getting at. Like, what happens if I turn off my computer or my miner?
Yeah, you just stop getting paid, and then it's replicated, somewhere else on the network to another person's computer.
Obviously, I hate downtime, so you wouldn't have that problem for me.
But there's a lot of other people that, for whatever reason, whether power outage, they're restarting their computer, or don't want it on, or they drop the computer out the window, they go offline, and so we just have algorithms to detect and try to recover from that.
Yeah.
So the next question that we have from the audience is about GitHub, right? So this person says, I am definitely interested in investing in Storj Coin. So please don't take this question offensively. Just doing my due diligence. Why do I not see any recent code activity on GitHub? From my perspective, this is typically an indicator of viability. So what would you say to someone who says, hey, you're not active on GitHub, or I don't know if you are or not, but if that is true, what would you say to that person?
What are they looking at? I mean, I know I've been pushing let me actually take a look at the storage repo right now.
Yeah, so let's give them your GitHub handle, because maybe they're looking at the wrong handle, right?
So it's github.com/storage, and the wiki, well, I guess that's internal. That was updated an hour ago. The mobile application updated 2 hours ago. The complex repo was at 3 hours ago. The bridge 5. So there's let's see, about 6 repos that have been modified today. And if I look out here, I see people working on code outside. So I don't know what repo he's looking at. But there's about, there's people working on it right now. And
what's the handle one more time for people who want to check out your GitHub?
So you just want to go github.com/storj.
STORJ. Right. Yeah. So, if GitHub is an indicator of viability, it seems like you guys have a lot of stuff going on over there.
Yeah, we're pushing stuff. Yeah, I really don't know what he's looking at, because I'm looking at GitHub right now, and we've made multiple pushes to all these repos. We have 12 full-time developers at least. We keep on adding to the team, so a lot of stuff's happening. Some of it's internal. We're doing a lot of research kind of internally. There's definitely no lack of commits.
So someone says, I am an investor in Storj and I wanted to succeed, but I don't really hear much about it anywhere else. Can you talk about your marketing strategy and awareness initiatives regarding Storj?
Yeah, so we're kind of in a kind of lull period right now. We have a lot of fun, exciting things that are going to be announced sometime soon. So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. And what we're really focusing a lot of our time and resources right now is on the engineering, because that's what's important, and that's what gets us to kind of the next level of storage. So bit of a quiet period for the time being, but I can tell you there's a lot of things that will be announced in short order and be coming down the pipe. So jump in a rocket chat if you want a little bit more interaction, a little more touch point to figure out what's going on. Just go in a rocket chat, go on our website, go to community, join a rocket chat, and you can see everything happening in real time. And so that's a real great point to get active information rather than kind of passive PR blasts.
Right. And that leads me to my next question, actually, because you guys have some competition now, right? You guys are pretty much the first in the space. And then you have SeaCoin. I see what made SafeCoin. I'm not sure exactly what that is. But you have competition in the space. So what are you guys doing to help keep you guys in front of the competition? Or is that top secret right now?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really consider those projects competition. I mean, the people that we consider competition are the, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, the incumbent cloud providers that, store a majority of the world's data and really trying to, compete against their prices and feature sets. There's some really interesting projects working on some really cool things. What we're really focusing on is scale. Is that, we've been around kind of the longest, have the largest user base, store the most data, and have really the most learnings. And we've found, areas in ourselves where we realize, this doesn't get us to the next level. So it's really that whole, innovate or die, disrupt yourself before someone else disrupts you. And so, we're really focusing again and doubling down on that engineering, which makes it sound like we're, a little quiet on the top front, but, we're working on the back end to kind of transition and upgrade our system to support, again, just the massive inflow of users and data people want to store. And so a lot of these other networks are just like concepts at this point. They're either like trying to figure it out conceptually or have something in the very early stages, but nothing to our scale. And so we look at it and we're trying to trying to get to Amazon scale, and we're just a tiny little blip. Not even a blip on their radar. So, we're focused.
Not yet, but I have confidence in you, man. Like, I think, and I think that you're going to make it happen. And I can't wait to actually see you, make that happen. And we have we have developers in the Jarvis system, right? In terms of what we're building out too, that I think, many of them will be happy to help you along. And of course, we always invite you to our community, the Jarvis developer community that, Mike Flatt's a part of as well, and to be a part of that conversation. No pressure, but, we're always here to, support a young brother who is making major moves in a new and emerging space that's going to be, so freaking huge that, most people can't actually understand the scale of what this thing could be.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the space. We talked about, the network and, Storj's position and really, building something that people can functionally use. That's not, too crazy idea. Like, people store data, everyone stores data, and just making that more secure, more private, giving people more control over their data, making, more cost effective, more for developers, and getting more performance out of that data. And then there's, a bunch of other things that, probably outside of the scope to get into and like what that can actually enable. But those are things that, we're talking about at the high level. There's stuff that, I'm really interested in terms of scaling solutions, and, Storj is working on as well that, is really going to write the future of where this technology goes. So there's, a lot of interesting stuff happening above board, but there's also a bunch of new stuff coming down the pipe. So I definitely encourage, anyone who's interested in the space, go to the conferences. That's That's where the interesting things happens. That's where you hear the things before they happen. That's where you hear the interesting ideas. When you get to see, Vitalik, speaking, 2014, 15, and get, that those seeds of knowledge that turned out to be completely right, down the line.
Well, great segue, Shawn. I appreciate that. So this is a great time to promote our first annual Black Crypto Conference that's going to be happening in Atlanta, Georgia, on May 11th. We have another day on May 10th, but May 11th through 13th at the Omni Center, the CNN Center, or Omni Hotel CNN Center in downtown Atlanta. And we expect to have a couple thousand people there. We have such a large community.
You're sending me tickets, right?
Well, we want you to speak. We haven't told you that yet.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Storj is headquartered in Atlanta. So
ATL, my old stomping grounds before I moved down here to Medellin, Colombia. But ATL is where it's at. And we would love to have you speak, of course, Shawn, at that conference, but we can talk more about that offline. One last question for you, and then we'll get your closing thoughts. And then we'll go ahead and get out of here and end this interview. And I think this is an important question for people to understand in terms of how the storage economy actually works. So someone wants to know, can you explain how the storage token economy works? When I buy storage, do I get a share of the company or something else? Or how does all that work?
Yeah. So basically you have storage token, which is a utility token, which is used within this platform, right? So we figured out very early on that if we want to pay, we have 90,000 farmers, you want to pay 90,000, people at least, you can't do that with any traditional system. You have to use crypto because I can't do a wire or ACH transfer for 1,000%. So from the early get-go, we've always used the storage token to be able to facilitate those payments in open and requiring the least amount of trust, but also just to be able to do those transfers. And so you use the storage token, it can buy storage space in our product and on the network. And then it is also used as a reward as people rent out their hard drive space in the network. So it has use inside of the protocol in the network. And that is kind of its function, is to provide that base to the network. So there's no kind of, people start to get into funny terms in terms of, you own a piece of the company. No, it's a token that's used in the network for the specific purpose of buying and selling cloud storage space. And as we go on, we're actually going to be using the token in various other methods. Again, to facilitate that closed loop ecosystem. There's deeper things in terms of the economics where you're using the token to incentivize behaviors that you want that are good for the network, like people keeping their computer on. Maybe there's some kind of bonus or penalty for doing the right things and penalty for doing the wrong things, and other things that really you can ingrain in the token that you cannot do with any other traditional system. Or when you start using other tokens, you don't have the flexibility to be able to encode things that are important for your network. So again, it's that fundamental thing. It's the base of the network. You can think of it almost like Chuck E. Cheese tokens or Dave and Buster points. It's useful within that ecosystem and utility within the ecosystem because trying to feed dollars into the arcade machine doesn't really make sense. But using traditional dollars to do a massive distributed storage network doesn't make sense. But when you use the token, you can align incentives and you can actually facilitate payments and you can do all these other things you can't do with other systems. So perfect, I hope I explained that.
I think that was a very thorough explanation. And
there's still a lot of unknowns to tokens in general, right? It's fringe economics when there's so many new levers where there's things that we know over time, but a lot of things that the entire ecosystem is learning on what are good token economics as well.
But that's why it's an emerging market, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what's being developed. So we're just people are just still trying to figure this thing out as they go.
Yeah, I'm still learning.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot. This is not my base level of expertise or knowledge, whatever. But I do understand systems, and I see how your economy, your systems actually going about working. So we have no other questions. I guess maybe just one more. You close us out on this. Close us out on if someone wants to be the next Shawn Wilkinson, right? Like if someone's out here, it's like, man, I love this brother. I love this, seeing what he's doing. What would you tell them? How should they go about it? Like, what should they be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just find a problem that you understand and that you're passionate about, and work to build that problem and find other people who are also interested in that problem to help you build that out. It's the passion for solving a problem or something that you experience is really important, because that kind of people can tell when someone's just doing it. Oh, I'm gonna do a token and pump it and like something that solves a problem that you experience and understand, and that deep understanding and passion about it will gravitate the right people to help you build that out. And so that's kind of what I experienced. Is I was really passionate about a cloud storage network that was open, secure, private, was a lot easier to use, open source, and a lot of people said, I agree with those same ideals. Let me help. And there's a lot of, you have to be careful. There's some people in the space who not the nicest people, definitely try to do you in. But there's a lot of people willing to help build out things that are cool and interesting and solve a problem. So I really encourage anyone who's interested in going that path. Definitely not an easy path, definitely a rough path, but just find something and just start building, with reckless abandon. Just go for it.
Find something and start building with reckless abandon. I like that. I think those are great closing words. So Shawn, thank you so much for your time. Of course, Mike, our resident tech guru for Black crypto investing and also the digital underground. Thank you for your time as well. So if you guys want to know more about Storj and Shawn, head over to, I assume, www.storj.com. Is that right?
IO.
.io. Sorry about that. Yeah. I forgot we're in this new tech space.
Past the .com bubble.
Yeah, past .com. We're on IO now. This is new generation. Yeah, so head over to storj.io and you can learn more about what Shawn and the rest of.
If you want to talk to me directly, if you have a quick question that didn't get answered during the session, I'm twitter.com/super3. Super the number 3. So
Super 3. There we go.
Quick questions.
That's right. Quick questions. He's a busy man. He's running a really large company over there as chief strategy officer. So thanks for providing that information to our audience, and thank you for your time, Shawn. So see you guys later, and we'll be close. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And see you in Atlanta.
Yeah, see you in Atlanta, May 11th and 13th. That's right.
I'm trying to see if I can schedule a field trip over to Storj.
That'd be dope.